Okay, great. Now that you've got the search and filtering plugin installed, you've got the basic setup ran through and the default templates and search and filtering sections imported, let's go ahead and quickly run through the basic features of how the search and filtering plugin is set up and how it actually works. So for the search and filtering plugin, there are what are called sections. Each one of these sections is something that is output on the page itself. Inside of a section are different fields. Now we'll go a little bit further into this in a minute, but just to give you a quick understanding of how it's set up. So as you can see in the list table here, each one of these are sections. So each one of these sections will actually be output in a specific location. They can be output in the same exact location. And once I dive a bit more into each one of the field types and how they work, you'll see why there's different sections and fields. So on the actual admin table, you'll see here we have up in the top right corner a quick easy switch to where you can enable or disable using the custom search and filtering. If you disable this, what this will end up doing is to actually disable using the plugin any of these that are on here, and it will allow the default ones to be output. I'm going to go ahead and turn this back on so that we can actually have those set up. We also have here a button to where you can add a new one. You can see the settings. You can import either a default JSON file, or you can actually import one of the ones you have exported from another site, or just as a backup, or you can go back to the setup section. So the settings here, you'll see there's some basic settings. It's really what we have here is whether or not it's enabled, which is just a shortcut to this original one here. And then search all, which is a default WP Job Manager is not search all meta, so you can enable that if you'd like. You have the editing enabled. Editing enabled is that once you go to the home page, only as an administrator, of course, that it will show you the editing right off the bat. And we'll see that in just a minute here once I get through that. Now you'll see under each one of these onto the list table, we have all these different sections. And so as I mentioned, these sections are output on the actual home page. So let's go ahead and switch over to that and see where everything's at. So right now you can see here we have these set up here, and to give you a good idea of how the sections work, so you'll see right here we have this section right here and this section over here. So the section is because they can be in different locations but on the same side of the field, and then you can have fields, which is each one of these inside of a section. So as you can see here, this section right here has these little buttons up top. So at the very top, once you hover over it, you'll see the little blue outline that goes around it. That is an outline around the section. If you want to save the section, you click this button. If you want to leave editing mode, you can click that button so you can see how everything looks, how it would look to a front-end user. And when you come back over here, you can hover over it and you'll see the edit button shows back up. You can click here to actually edit the section itself, and you'll see a drawer will open here from the right-hand side with all the configuration where you can go through the section itself. Now, you'll notice here we have a label. You can click to show the label. You can set where the actual output is. This is actually done whenever you add a new section, which we'll go through in more detail in another video. But just to give you some basic understanding, you have the priority here and a few other things. Now, as you notice here, we have the spacing, styles, stuff like that. I'll go through those in another video. I just want to give you a quick overview of how the actual plugin is set up and how everything works. So this is a section. Inside of that section, you'll see we have a field. So over here, you can see we have the delete and edit for each one of the fields. So we'll come over here just to give you a better view so you can see it. I hover over here in the top left corner, you'll notice we have the edit icon just like this. We click the edit icon, this will open a drawer on the side where you can actually edit the field and change the configuration values for each one of them. In another video, I will go over through all these different settings in here, the search, and go into more details in depth about these. But just to give you a brief, like I said, understanding, here's how it's set up. And now you'll notice here, we have each field here, and you can actually click on the right corner and you can change the size of the field itself. So say you want it that big, that's something you can do, and say you wanted to move this down, you can move that down. Everything is built so that it's very easy for you to build this out the way you want it to look without having to know any kind of HTML, PHP, stuff like that. Very basic CSS is needed just to be able to style it the way you want it to look, but for the most part it should be pretty straightforward and easy to set up. Now say I wanted to move this around and I want to save this. Make sure that you come over here and click this save button. Otherwise, if you refresh the page, it's not going to save. As you'll notice, all the other sections are unable to be edited while it's saving. That's on purpose, and that's just the way it's set up so that you can't change things without losing settings. So I'm going to go ahead and move this back up down here, move that over, and then you'll notice we have this section here, and then we also have these other sections underneath it. So the reason we have these other sections underneath them is because these are set up as dynamic sections, so you can dynamically show different features in here. In another video, I will go over what dynamic sections are to give you more details and in-depth about how that actually works. This is the basic setup of how the actual search and filtering plugin works. Fields inside of sections. Each section can have unlimited number of fields that it wants. That's pretty much the basics of it. Hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.